Well, now let me give you an outright secret about the finances and how you're supposed to live. Guess what? If you can afford a 20,000 Kenyan shillings house rent, if you can afford a house that is worth 20,000 Kenyan shillings at the end of the month, live a 10,000 one. Live a 10,000. If you can actually afford to buy a car that is worth 3 million, if you can afford to buy a 3 million, go ahead and buy 1.5 million one. Okay? If you can actually go ahead and afford to live, maybe eating, dressing, and all those kind of side. Let's say maybe you can afford to live in a lifestyle that is worth 50,000 Kenyan shillings a month. Go ahead and live something like 30,000 Kenyan shillings a month. Okay. Now the point is this: what am I doing? It is called living below your means, and you can actually shake off a lot of unnecessary pressure. Why? Right now, as we speak, most of the people are suffering because the item of living, what either they are living above their means. There are people who are living above their means. Somebody is making 50K a month. Somebody is making 50K a month, and the guy is living 55K a month. Come on, dude. I mean, seriously, where would you gonna get the 5K? Somebody is also making 50K a month, and that guy is actually living a 50K lifestyle. Guess what happens? They have a zero cash flow. Zero cash flow. And that's why you tell them, hey, 50K is not even savable and all those kind of things. You know why? You want to feed your emotions, you want to feed your logical, you want to feed your sustainability, you want to feed your development at the same time. You really have a lot of things in your basket. Let me tell you one secret. For example, there's some of the things that you can actually get on board in your life and you can actually become very expensive. For example, I have a friend of mine who wanted to start what do you call, a channel talking about the fashion, how men should dress and all those kind of things. The guy called me, I told him, okay, fine, no problem. That's a good niche, okay? So how do you plan to sustain your life? And the guy was saying, hey, guess what? I'm gonna be dressing and making some video and showing them how, okay, what if one day will come and exhaust all your clothing? What would you do? Your content is becoming very much expensive, all right? So because now, okay, how exactly can you be buying clothing each and every time? You get what I'm saying? So you can decide to do something that becomes a bit expensive for you. For example, and this is, I usually have a problem with the people, we call them the middle incomers. There are people who call them the middle incomers. Middle incomers, these are people who usually earn, according to Kenya statistics, these are people who earn a salary of 48,000 all the way to 100 to 200 and let's say 200K. Okay, these people who earn a salary between this time, these are the people who do anything and everything to make sure that they prove to you that they're living a well and comfortable life. This is the worst thing that they are doing in their lives. Guess what? For example, I'm going to give you a very simple example here. Let's say we meet somebody on the road and you ask them, hey, hello, sir, how are you? Good morning too. So what exactly do you do for a living? And the guy tells you, hey, I'm a mechanic. What do you expect much about that guy? You'd be like, okay, fine. If maybe tomorrow you meet that guy in a certain place, not even a suburb, not a leafy suburb, just an average place where you're gonna find a commoner, you'd be like, after all, he's a mechanic, it's perceived that they don't make a lot of money. What if you meet a banker? I tell those guys whom you usually meet at the behind of the mirror and they are doing some funny things out there. And then they tell you, hey, I'm a banker. What exactly do you expect? Oh, wow. You expect that guy to live in a suburb area, quite a good presentable area and all those kind of things, all right? So what if you go and meet them somewhere where you don't even expect them to be there? Or maybe somebody tells you they're an engineer, I'm a teacher, I'm whatever, I'm a doctor, and what have you. So you know what happens? See, if you meet those kind of guys, they usually have what we call the status attached to them. And they usually get themselves involved in kind of a lifestyle that they cannot actually be able to afford. For example, you may meet a mechanic. A mechanic, actually, I do interact with these mechanics each and every day, by the way, if you don't believe, okay? These guys are actually, you find somebody is making like 3,500 in a day. Somebody is actually making a bad day, the guy is making 1,800 in a day. A banker is being paid like 45K a month. Now tell me, between the two, which salary would you prefer? The guy, yeah, the dude doesn't look presentable in terms of the dressing and all those kind of things. But can you imagine the amount of money the guy is making? This is over 100K a month. This 1,800. This is all way above this amount of money. But if you find them, they're living at different areas. This guy can actually, let's say this guy is living in a 15K rental house. The guy can actually as well afford the 15K rental house. But guess what? This guy is not living in a 15K rental house. You may find this guy is living in a 6,500 rental house. He's living half away like this, but the guy is making more than this guy. So tell me now, if you were to talk about savings and whatever, who do you think will save more? Definitely this guy. Number two, where this guy hangs around and where they eat. Probably maybe where you go to hang out and take a coffee, it's quite an expensive place. This guy maybe is buying, maybe say a cappuccino single, you're buying it at let's say 260 Kenyan shillings. Okay? And then this guy does not even know what is a cappuccino single and what have you. The guy just waits at the evening. There are people who hold coffees and maybe you can get a coffee from an average hotel. The guy gets that coffee at around, let's say 20 shillings. Now tell me, the guy is buying a cappuccino at 260, this guy is buying it at 20 shillings. So how much have you salvaged? You see, but the guy is actually making way more than this one. So the point here is simple: live or learn to live below your means. This is a very, very vital procedure that most of the people do not understand how it goes. For example, let me give you a very simple example. And again, I may continue with this list. For example, the two individuals, the mechanic who is earning 1,800 a day and a banker who is earning 45,000 at the end of the month. Now, the question is this: whenever this guy gonna take his kids to school, probably the guy gonna take them to a quite over presentable school, because hey, the guy subscribed to the quality education, quality education. So therefore, if it's a quality education, obviously there is a price attached. Therefore, the guy maybe say he's paying like a stock of 18,000, 18K per term or semester, however you call it. Okay, and this guy be like, okay, fine. The guy also treasures the education. It's quite a good thing and all those kind of things. But the guy does not pay the 18,000. The guy pays, let's say, 12K. All right, the guy pays 12K. So this guy saves 6K, the guy saves nothing. With reference to this, if say both of them had put aside like 18,000, so the guy has exhausted the entire amount of money, the guy has saved amount of money. So you know what happening now? You may find that this guy is actually pumping in more money towards the savings for the purposes of investing in future, but this guy is not doing so. And you may find these guys usually have a different approach of life. And let me show you the secret of what happens. So the guy who is a banker, and this is where they find these people become the slaves of life. The guy who is a banker, they usually have this kind of a conversation. Okay, hey, I can go ahead and subscribe to a certain mortgage of a certain company. It goes for 15 years. They give this amount of money. I'll be paying them 20,000 at the end of the month. And then in the 12th year, I'll be able to go ahead and acquire a house. Or, hey, there is a certain insurance company that approached me. They're telling me they're going to sell me an investment, which is an education policy. Them. Just cut those things. Those are not investments. If it's about insurance, it's about insurance. It's nothing like investment. Oh, I don't know, I subscribe to an insurance policy about my kids and education and all those kind of things. Or maybe I can acquire a loan, a certain place and be able to build my own home and all those. These people, they have a very fun thing. And the way they conversate, by the way, you realize this guy is gonna be free. Probably they ain't gonna be free in their lives. And if they're gonna be so, then it will be above 60 years and above. But this guy, this is what happens. They don't even care about those insurance policies that you talk about. I talk about, say, investments and all those kind of things. The guy picks an MMF. The guy picks immediately he picks that investments and puts the money into that. Instead of this guy putting the money in, maybe let's say, into stocks, of which is a little bit dicey in terms of the risk version and all those kind of things. So the guy go ahead and subscribe to, say, like a money market fund, or maybe in stocks, or maybe say index fund or something of sort. And sometimes some of them don't even know what are those. So what do? They go ahead and subscribe towards them acquiring a piece of property and be able to build some rentals. They think about building the rentals first before them acquiring a home. It is true. And then the other thing is that them acquiring a car compared to this guy. This guy can actually go ahead and get a car maybe worth like 1.1 million. True. But this mechanic can actually even access a car that is worth 120,000. You know why? They don't care. Provides something that is good. I mean, seriously, if you look at the lifestyle of this kind of two people, you find like by the time they are all hitting 60 years, you find this guy has actually accessed or achieved a lot of things in their life. The guy is actually doing away with the loans, and then the thing that they wait at the end of their lifetime in terms of working and what have you, it's just a certain pension for them to progress. So the point is this, guys, it's always good to make sure that you live below your means. And how can you live below your means? Living below your means is knowing that yes, you can afford that specific thing, but it's not a must that you go ahead that you achieve that specific thing. Guess what happens? You get that ease. For example, if you know you can afford a rent that is worth 20,000, but you're living in a 10,000 one, or maybe let's say you're living in a 12,000 one, okay? So there is an extra 8K that is being left out there. So that 8K gives you the peace of mind. You know very well, hey, guess what? If I can be able to achieve, or I can afford to pay actually 20,000 rent in a month, and I'm actually paying 10. So in a single month, I can actually pay two of them. So you just have that. See, the financial freedom is when you do not have to worry about those basic things. Is when you know, hey, whatever you're doing, you're just comfortable. Can you imagine in a single day you can actually pay your rent like for 4 months? It's true. There's some individuals who, whatever they make in a day, they can actually manage to pay their house rents in 4 months. But they just live it comfortably. They don't go ahead and live in 4 times whatever they're paying today. No, they just live comfortable in that, and they channel that money towards an investment. The lifestyle that we live, where you drink, where you eat, how you live, okay, whom you associate with. Do you just associate with people just because they're your friends and maybe they are pressing you to a point whereby you are even unable to save? Do you live in a situation whereby you find, hey, you are just acquiring a car just because, hey, most of your friends have cars, That may be a positive influence in terms of achieving something, but the point is you're crushing your pocket. So it is good to make sure that you live below your means. But do I mean that you are supposed to live below your means the rest of your life? No, there is always that sacrificial moment whereby you live way below your means. And once you live below your means for a certain period of time, then you'll be able to elevate that amount of money that is savable. You've been doing so throughout the time. You save, you invest to expand your portfolio. You save, you invest to expand your portfolio. So a time will come now you'll be able to bounce back. Once you bounce back, then you'll be living in a lifestyle whereby you're having a very comfortable life. For example, hey, say you've been creating a very good and nice portfolio of investments, and then they are bringing in more cash and more cash in terms of the cash flow. And then you can be able to go ahead and maybe even rent that house of you've been admiring of 20,000. You go ahead and rent it, but you don't have problem. You don't even have to worry about it when it comes to you paying that specific rent, because everything is catered for. You actually have the capability. Maybe some one or two investments actually can be able to pay fuel your car, be able to pay your rent, be able to do all those things. Let me tell you one secret. I know this message may be very, 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 very hard for the guys who are employed, but can actually resonate with these guys who work in the cottage industry. Call them the informal sector. These are the people who can actually manage to do this. But if you're employed and again, you know you can be able to do exactly this, how about you go ahead and do that? This is a secret when it comes to creation of wealth. I would like you to go ahead and try to sort of meet a certain person who you consider wealthy or rich, or they have achieved something as far as the finance is concerned, and ask them, how did they struggle? Did they sacrifice anything? And how were they sacrificing? Which kind of a lifestyle were they living? You will be shocked. And you know what they will say? People say, or the saying goes that, the poor live as if they're the poor live as if they're the rich, and the rich live as if they're the poor. And then you find somebody who doesn't have that, extra wealthy, or maybe they are rich and something. They're the one who really struggle and strain to prove to people that they're actually doing well in life. Do not rush, do not actually compete in an unhealthy way with some people. If you're gonna compete, then do so in a healthy way. So learn to live in below your means. If you make 30,000 a month, try to live at least 20,000. So take the 10,000, channel it towards an investment. There is no way your job or your salary is gonna make you wealthy or rich. That is not its principle. It has never made to. Okay, that is not the whole idea of you being wealthy using your salary. Again, if may say you make 50,000 Kenyan shillings, you'll have to live at least a 30,000 lifestyle. Okay, what am I saying? At least in your life, as far as the savings are concerned, try to do so 20% of whatever you earn. But it depends. See, as you grow old, you cannot tell somebody who is aged 45 years to save 20% and then they expect miracles. Probably you're gonna do less of things at this age. See, we say when you're young, let's say when you are from, let's say 19, when you start earning from 19, from that time you can actually save as less as 10,000 or 10% rather. By the time you're hitting a certain particular age, you have some good money. But the more you grow old, there's something called the law of increase. You're supposed to learn that law of increase. Law of increase, it says as you grow old, more responsibilities comes in. And also because if you want to achieve something, you have also to increase that percentage of money that you actually save. For example, if you ask me, if you're at 20 years, I would advise you save 20%. If you're at 30 years, I would advise you to save 30%. If you're at 40% or 40 years, I would advise you to save at 40%. So if you're at 50, go ahead and save half of whatever you make and all those kind of things. So if you hit at 60, you've not saved anything, let me know, make a comment on that. But the point is, anyway, guess what? As you grow old, more responsibility comes in. You do not have the factor of time. Then it means that you have actually to go ahead and expand the amount of money that you ought to save for you to actually progress and grow yourself out there. All right? There was somebody who shared with me that information. He told me, hey, guess what, Joseph? We have 10K right now. The guy had family, but then I was just like, the guy told me, hey, guess what, Joseph? I mean, seriously, you can just take the 2K, live by it, and then let's take the 8K, your 8K and my 8K, makes it 16K, and we can be able to invest and do something. And I was like, nah, damn it, nah, I'm not going to do that. And the guy told me, one day you'll come when you'll have the 10K, and guess what will happen? You'll actually need to survive on 10K, and the only amount of money you'll be left with the 2K. It's actually possible, but you can avoid this, all right? You can avoid this. So the point is this doesn't have to happen, but the guy was selling me the idea of, guess what? At time you can actually have more money, and survive on more for the sustainability and be able to invest less. So when you have the capacity, and this is what I'm directing this information to people who do not have their families, they do not have much of the responsibility to the top of them. Even if you're at 20, go ahead and save even 40. If it's possible, even save at 50% of whatever you actually earn out there. Because how about to get yourself into this kind of a situation? All right. So if you are having it hard to a hard time to actually save 2K, and then you bring families on board, which means more responsibilities, you can come to a point whereby you're actually making zero amount of money. You're actually getting yourself into debt. So avoid this case of scenario. I avoided it and I took action, and we actually invested the 8K and we progressed to the next level. So the point is this: do something as far as your finances are concerned. Guess what? Go ahead and pick that number of mine from the description of this specific video if you'd like to get my services, if you'd like to get my booklets and anything related to that. Let's talk business. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.